Because another thing we never did discuss, and I remember I told you the Sunday morning that I was just feeling all the grief coming up of, I guess, what I was letting go because I knew I was becoming more.
It's a really important point. You know, when I taught the Becoming More class, I decided this was the first time I've ever taught a class that I'm going to be a participant in the class. And I mentioned that, I'm going to join this class. I'm teaching it, but I'm also going to experience it fully. And I felt all this grief come up for me when I was teaching the class, because one of the things I was holding back on was feeling how much I was loved. I did, and I talked about that in the class. It's like, God, like to really appreciate how much people were appreciating me. I always wanted to hold it at arm's distance and like, well, okay, it's nothing, and not let it in. But it was very difficult. And it wasn't until the second day of the class that you could see I had changed, that and now I'm really letting in the love that I'm receiving. And it was beautiful. But let's get to the first point. What was the Becoming More workshop? Back in about maybe 10 years ago, I'm not really good with dates, I was sitting in my favorite cafe with a friend, and Carolyn was explaining to me that she had a photographic memory and she never had to study in college and she always got straight A's. It was really easy for her. So I'm goofing around. I'm a pretty silly person at heart. And I said, well, why don't you give me your photographic memory? And she said, well, how do I do that? I said, well, you just kind of grab hold of it and put it inside my head. So she's kind of doing some imagining twerking or something and pushing it inside my head. And I don't notice anything, of course, but we're just playing. And as I go to sleep that night, as I'm getting ready to go to sleep, I'm getting myself tired enough to lay on my side and go to sleep. And as I'm laying there, just letting myself get tired, I think about a friend I hadn't seen in many years. And all of a sudden, right in front of my face is a picture of my friend, so clear, like it's printed in the air in light, with the name spelled in gold letters underneath. And this was the clearest visualization I had ever seen in my life. So I thought, let me see if I can read the letters backwards. And I can read them forward or backward. They're not moving. It's absolutely printed in space. I thought of a second and third friend. They were there. And then I realized my whole body was racked in fear. And I thought, that was a fun experience. Why am I experiencing fear? And I realized it was her fear that I was picking up. So when I saw her, I asked her the most unusual of questions. I said, when you think of people you haven't seen in years and years, you suddenly see their face right in front of you with the name spelled in gold letters? She goes, how did you know? And I said, well, she said, I'm like a machine. And then I said, well, do you carry a lot of fear in your body? Oh, you have no idea. I said, I think I do have an idea. So I knew we could share gifts. And when I created the level 2 class, I was stretching to say, okay, I know this is possible, so I'll include it in the class, but I'm not quite sure how we do it. It was kind of like an open-ended bonus piece, but it really wasn't effective. And then all these years later, I kept on, when I was living in Cancun, Mexico, I kept thinking, how am I going to do this? And I tried experiments with people for dozens of hours, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. When I finally put the pieces together, I go, oh my God, this is it. So what we can actually do is we can share our highest states of consciousness, our gifts, our talents, our special abilities, the things that we know. I have access to this, but most people don't have access to this, whether it's empathy or mechanical skills, or I picked up a whole lot of piano skills at the thing because all of a sudden my piano playing is so much nicer than it was before. So one of the people shared that with me. So the Becoming More workshop is a chance for us to directly share those gifts, abilities, or states of consciousness that we have access to, but most people have not experienced. Everybody has their special places. So what came up for you? Well, and you were there.
Yeah. So what just came up for me as you were saying that, because I was like, how is it that we could entrain to people's gifts? Because I think what I experienced coming home, it was like I would have a question and I would just ask the question in my mind. And within a day, the answer would come to me. And that's what I've been noticing probably strongest is like I'm able to just like tune into information, knowledge. It was like I would just have this knowing then. of what's my next step, right? Because sometimes I would get confused by the process of how do I get from A to B, but it was like, okay, now I just need the next step, and then the next step would present itself.
Yeah, it's that we can actually, by using the energy work of the level 2 quantum touch. So I review what level 2 is, so people who just had level 1 can start working from the heart chakra. But we use the energy of the level 2 to send the gifts, and by understanding the spiritual anatomy, we can implant it in such a way that it's sent through all the chakras of the body, and we experience it not as knowing, but we experience it as body sensation and emotion. So we clearly get the emotion and the body sensation, and we start to pick up the insights, and we start to pick up the awareness of these things. And for a lot of people, it would just send them straight into extreme levels of joy. But for other people, it was grief because, and for me, it was grief because I didn't want to have to let that much love in. And I wanted to be comfortable and safe, but now I have to expand myself. So I think everybody at the workshop was really challenged, especially the first day, because how do I let this much in? And how do I let myself expand that much? But to my delight and amazement, by the end of the second day, everybody was like in bliss states and just overwhelming joy. I knew it was going to be a good workshop. I just didn't think it was going to be quite that good.
Yeah, when I walked in on the first day and I went to sit down, it was just, you could just feel the buzzing and the energy. And I think at one point you were saying something, and then all of a sudden, like, the speakers kind of went. And when we did start working with some of the chakras, then the lights started flickering. But I felt it was the love. Like,
yeah,
it's like, I don't want to say this statement because maybe it's a bit too much, but I don't think I've ever felt that much love before.
I don't think that's unfair. That's actually true.
Like, I think going into it, I thought I felt love. I thought I knew what love was. I thought I was loved, and I understood that. But coming into the workshop and being physically side by side with this many people and like tapping into this love, it was like a whole new level of love. And then somebody asked me, they're like, do you love yourself? And I paused because now I don't know. And then it was like, and then that's when I felt that grief, because it was like I had to move forward now. Like, now that I know what this feels like, I have to move forward. And grieving what I have.
The other thing is, and I said this when I was promoting the workshop too, that we don't have words for the taste or the smell of coffee. We don't have words for the smell of a rose. We don't have words for much of our experience. And we don't have words for love. And there may be 1,000 flavors of love, just to use a nice metaphor there. The idea is that there are qualities of love, and there's like 7 major chakras in the body, and these 7 chakras represent different aspects of love. So I know this man from Texas I met here in Mexico, and he's very generous, and he has tons and tons of money, and he loves loving people by providing safety and security. So he's a first chakra man. That's his thing. He loves through the first chakra. But there's so many qualities and varieties of love through all the chakras. And by experiencing so many people's love at that summit, we were all filled up, more than we can take in. But what if I can take in 5% of this person's love, and 2% of that person's love, and 20% of this person's love? Oh, I'm experiencing things I am unfamiliar with, and I get to stretch. And now that the workshop is over, for like about 2 weeks now almost, it's amazing because we got a photograph of everybody at the workshop, and we made this composite photograph. So everybody at the workshop has learned how to send more energy to every single person in the workshop. And every single day, I feel like I'm receiving more, and I have to keep stretching and opening to keep up with it. And oh my God, I created a monster because I am being challenged every day now
Yeah, and I think that's it. Like I've been noticing in the evening is when most people seem to have time to start sending the energy, because I'll be finishing up in the kitchen, getting the kids ready for bed, and all of a sudden I can feel my body start to buzz and I'm like, "Oh, everyone's
Mhm.
sending energy now." So the one night the kids were just happily playing on their own, which that in itself, I was like, oh, this is a nice break. So I made myself a tea and I was like, I'm just going to sit on the couch and receive this energy. So I'm sitting on the couch, and then it was all of a sudden, I became aware of my fear of failing. And then it
Mm.
was like the fear of failing is what was, I guess, maybe the major theme in all of the difficulties I've encountered so far in my life. And especially when it came to fertility, because I felt like to be a woman, a successful woman, I have to have children. So the fact that I couldn't have children, it was that fear of failure. And through everything since, every major challenge I've encountered, but it wasn't this sad, scary feeling now becoming aware of this. It was just like, oh, that's what it is. And then I considered all of the events that have led me to where I am now. And I'm like, I am sitting on my couch enjoying a tea as my kids are happily playing. So I was still able to have kids. I was still able to go through every single challenge and get to this point. And it was like, I was so grateful. And then I started crying these like tears of gratitude. And I could feel my body I could feel my body just doing stuff. And then it was like it just kind of passed and I finished drinking my tea. And I was just like, whoa.
But this is exactly what I talked about at the seminar, because I said the mantra of the seminar is don't hold back.
Yeah.
If you're feeling self-pity and pain and unappreciated and you're hurting inside and your soul is aching, feel it 100 times stronger. Just go through it and let it out. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
feeling that love and that gratitude, don't hold back. Let yourself feel it rip through yourself and expand who you are. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what the beauty of this is, because we are going to be challenged for the rest of our lives to
Mm-hmm.
continue growing, expanding, feeling more joy, being more successful, and being happier. So, what this is, it's a new psychological mechanism that's nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the early people I tested this on was a woman who helped me find this house where I'm staying now. And she confided in me. She said, I've been nervous all my life. And my old approach with self-created health, which is great, I'd say, well, where did you learn this from? Was it mom or dad? Is it hurt, anger, shame, or guilt? And how do we process the emotions? And how do you change your identity? And on and on. But instead, I said, would you like me to give you a little gift? And she said, what do you mean? Well, I'm going to meditate for like 40 seconds and see what you feel. So I meditate. And I said, do you feel anything? She said, yeah, I feel all this tingling going over my head, my face, my neck, my chest. I said, well, give yourself like a minute and just see how deeply you can feel it. So she does. She said, oh, that feels so good. And then I said, now, if I give you a box of chocolate and you take a bite and throw the box away, did you receive the gift? Well, no. What you have to do is you take every bite of every piece of chocolate and you keep eating it as long as they're in the box. And I said, so what you want to do is you want to feel this 20 or 50 times a day for 30, 40 seconds and just let it in and do it every single day. I see her 3 weeks later. We're walking down the street, her and her boyfriend, and I said, what's going on? How are you feeling? She goes, oh, I'm hardly nervous anymore. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is a new psychological nonverbal mechanism. But it's so much more than that, because we can also share the best of ourselves. And when we went around the room, this delighted me. I'm going to do it at every seminar from now on. And I'm going to ask everybody, what are your superpowers? What are your special gifts? And it's not a bragging thing. It's just, this is what I bring. This is who I am. And I was so excited and delighted because everybody had something amazing that I wanted. And we didn't even have time for everybody to share with every other person everything that they had, but we were all feeling filled. So that was my experience.
Yeah. And that was really cool. And then when we had to go around, so we created the two circles. And
Yeah.
at one point, I was on the outer circle going around. And I thought we had even people, but at some point I was going around with another gentleman. So we were like a package of two. So I got to hear him explain his gift to every single person. So it's like I
Yeah.
heard it on repeat like 15 times. But it was such a beautiful message that I knew I needed. And now it was reminding us of the people and the situations in our life are a mirror and a reflection, and it's showing us the divinity. How did it go? What I created is almost like a mantra. The mantra for me that came out of that is the divinity in me sees the divinity in you.
That's called
So
namaste. That
is
is what not, yeah, the divine in me
yeah.
acknowledges the divine in you. That's namaste.
So now instead of being triggered when someone pisses me off or something, I'm like, oh, thank you. I needed to see that.
That's so beautiful. And I have a strong quality. It's a strength that no matter how many times I get knocked down, I come back again. But I also have a character flaw, which is that I'm very easily discouraged. So it balances out. But now I'm not easily discouraged. I'll feel the discouragement for 15, 30 seconds, whatever it is. And then I'll go, okay, this is pissing me off. And I'm even more determined. So it's not like I'm getting hit, but I'm not falling down and I'm not laying down. And I'm going, no, this is just making me angrier. So I'm going to even have more determination. So I'm overcoming a character flaw that I hadn't ever really talked about, on camera, but this is something that I've dealt with all my life. And we don't even know all the things that are changing inside of us because they're nonverbal and you only notice them in retrospect.
Yeah. And I think just being in that unconditional love. And then it's the whole idea of like, I didn't know it was possible and now I'm feeling it. So now I'm kind of like, well, what else is possible? Like, is there another level of love? Am I going to experience more?
I will tell you a secret. I got it on good authority. I can explain later how. There is no limit to how much joy a human being can experience while they're in a body. And so we are just cracking the door open now on who we're going to become. There's another thing that's really exciting to me about this whole process, which is that when you see, it's really difficult for most people to envision a future because we have a million experiences from the past. We've got no experiences from the future. Now, how do you create a new future? Well, you can use the old model of imagine what you want, believe you have it, live as if it's true. But that's called pushing. That's doing, it's acting out, and it's lying to yourself because it isn't really true. You don't really have the $1 million and the bikini body and your boyfriend and all the rest of the stuff. So lying to yourself isn't a good strategy. But what about being in such a state of love and joy and gratitude? Well, resonance and entrainment in quantum touch suggests the lower vibration is going to meet the higher vibration. Well, if your reality is the lower vibration and you're holding a higher vibration, what kind of reality are you going to have to attract? Something that's going to match the gratitude and joy and love that you're feeling. And so what this is, it's a new doorway into creating reality, but it's more about allowing reality than consciously doing it. And the other thing about that is the things that you've desired in your heart are already known to the universe. And what's going to bring you joy? Well, if happiness is the satisfaction of needs, like paying the rent and the utility bill, joy is the satisfaction of preferences. Oh, I prefer to be loved. I prefer to be creative. I prefer to have an abundance of money, not just enough to pay the bills. That's joy when we satisfy our preferences. So if you're holding a vibration of joy, then you're going to attract your preferences, and they're already known by the universe. You don't have to create a vision board to remind yourself of what they are. They're already inside you. And so this is a passive approach to the law of attraction because you're going to resonate and attract the things that are going to make you the happiest.
Well, and the cool thing about this workshop is now we're not doing it alone. we have the whole group. So on days when it feels tough, like I had that beautiful realization. Okay, I don't need to have the fear of failure, because what is failure? I mean, that just led into a whole beautiful conversation I had with my husband of like, well, what is failure? And then, but then a couple days later, now it's like, and maybe I'm just starting to feel a whole new level, because I'm feeling myself like resisting it, not quite wanting to, like I'm ready to just numb myself with all of the things I'd rather distract myself with. And now I'm catching myself, and it's like, well, do you want to distract and numb yourself? Or, and then I have the reminder of all of these beautiful people who are just sending the energy. So then it's like, okay, I can do this.
I think that what we're doing, we're pathfinders, setting a new path of possibility, a morphogenic field that can be stronger and stronger over time. And we're opening up to the world the possibility of being happier every day. And we're opening up the possibility of becoming more. Oh, that was the title of the workshop. So we are really doing this thing. And I think Jennifer and I have decided that what we're going to do is we're going to continue the process of having these workshops, but we're going to do them at resorts. And we'll encourage people, maybe stay a day or two after the workshop, just to be in a relaxed space that's luxurious and lovely, that you can just keep feeling it and letting it in. Because the biggest challenge at the workshop is opening up enough to receive it. And I know a lot of people were challenged that first day, but by the second day, we were all feeling it. And we were going, oh my God, this is amazing. Because we have no idea the quality and varieties of love and skills and abilities that other people have, that they're more than happy to share with us. So it also occurred to me that I learned so much from teaching the first one, and I saw 4 or 5 things I'm completely going to change on the second one to make it even better. And I talked to the class immediately and said, look, I know how to teach it, but I don't know how to orchestrate it. So let's figure it out. And we did almost immediately. We figured it out. But like, for instance, we had the inner circle and the outer circle. What I think I'm going to do, if we have like, 150 or 200 people, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have circles of like 24, like 12 in the middle and 12 on the outside. And we'll do that. And it'll be really comfortable. Then we can have multiple circles, and then we can go into other circles. But that way we can really have that deeper experience, and it could be a huge room, and people can on their own continue the process as long as they like. So we're going to have so much fun. And I've got some other things up my sleeve, discoveries and ideas that make the next one even better, if that's possible.
That's so exciting. So are there plans already for the next one?
Yeah, Jennifer is looking. We have a site location expert who helped us find the place in Mexico, in Cancun. And we have somebody right now looking in Florida. And so we're looking at early February in Florida to have the next one. And then the one after that would probably be in the spring, and it might be in Spain. So that's what we're considering. So we don't know yet. Nothing's on paper, nothing's written down yet, but that's the plan.
Yeah. Well, we can add it to the notes too, once there is a definite plan, because I think a lot of people, I know even in my own kind of circle, if you will, everyone was really excited to hear what my experience was, and is excited to join. So
it was amazing to me, because I was on a call yesterday with the Shift Network, and 2 of the people, they had been at our seminar, and they were telling the whole group, oh my God, this was like over the top amazing, and they're still experiencing it. They were bringing the exact same joy in that you and I are sharing, and they just spontaneously started sharing this thing too. And so I think this is clearly my most joyous workshop I've ever taught. And I think it's the most transformational one as well, because we're delightfully challenged to become more.
And I think that's one of the things that I always resonate with Quantum Touch was you said celebrate the pain, and healing can be a beautiful, loving experience. And most times when you think about healing, it's kind of projected as like a low, depressing, like I have to go through it. I have to, like that kind of a feeling. And I haven't felt that with quantum touch. And especially with this workshop, like I said, I was just enjoying my tea. And then it was like I was hit with this like wave of realization. And then I was like, oh, I don't have to fear failing. And then I got to finish my tea.
And the thing is about not holding back. If you think about every painful experience that you're still carrying around, it's because you held back.
Mhm.
When a baby cries, they fully cry. They don't hold back at all. They feel it completely. Attachment is holding back, where we don't let ourselves complete the experience, and therefore we hang on to it for years or lifetimes. And so what this is an opportunity to embrace the pain, embrace the joy, embrace the moment, because it's going to be so intense. There's nothing else to do but enjoy it.
You know, and as you say that, so I had a night this week where one of my kids was really upset and just yelling and screaming. And usually I'm doing everything I can to stop it, but I was like, why? So I just sat there with him and he just did what he needed to do. And then like 10 minutes later, it was done and we were snuggling.
Perfect.
And then I was like, yeah, he's allowed to yell and scream if he needs to yell and scream. Why would I tell him to hold it in?
And this is such a valuable message. It said, boy, you did a really good job of yelling and screaming and getting all that out of your system. And now look how good you feel. Yeah. So it puts it in his head that, yes, if I can feel it fully, I won't carry it around.
Yeah. Yeah. And just moments like that, it's like, it's changing the way I think, it's changing the way I show up in my day to day. And it's just one of those, like, if I didn't know this, what else don't I know? Right? Like, if I didn't think this was possible, what else is possible? Yeah.
Well, I just made another video in my series, and there were 10 people who I sent energy in their body spontaneously aligned, and they were in Romania and, of all places, Transylvania. So this is my third video demonstrating that we can use level 2, meditate on a person's sphenoid bone, and instantly align people. The first was 8 in Portugal, 4 in Dominican Republic, and now 10 people in Transylvania. And so there's 22 people in a row. And what was exciting about this last one was they had a physical therapist doing the measuring. And on one of the people, the hips didn't move, but the occiput did. And it showed two things immediately. First, that the physical therapist was willing to challenge me if it didn't work. He was quick to point out, oh, that didn't work at all. I said, yes, because the occiput moved, but for whatever reason, the hips were locked, or there was an obstruction or a long leg or something I don't understand. So it showed that the body heals itself, and I'm not the one doing it. And what I love about this is it's a clear demonstration that the mind is not confined to the brain, that physics doesn't explain the reality, the traditional physics, that energy healing is a real phenomenon, that it would change so many things in the culture. So what we decided to do was to start this whole new program. I'm calling it the Paradigm Initiative. All the people who feel it in their heart to change the fundamental beliefs of reality, bigger than what Galileo did, or Einstein, or Newton, or all the other major belief changes in the world, to bridge science and spirituality together, to realize that love is real and has an impact on the outer reality. So that's why we decided to start this new Paradigm Initiative. And those who are interested in joining up, just send us an email at paradigmyes@gmail.com, and we'll put you on the mailing list. And every single person at the workshop wanted to join this program as well, all 40 of them. And it was so wonderful because now we have so many people. What was it, 4 or 5 people who said they're manifesting abilities where they just think of something? So we're going to have, I think we got 2 people already interested in grant writing. So on the wish list that they're going to put out is, I want this grant to go through. Well, then we send everybody who's working on the project will send their wish list to the manifestors.
Mhm.
And then I'm a projector with human design, so I can't open doors for myself. But Karina was hanging out with me and she said, oh, I open doors. We go to a restaurant in the evening and they said, well, do you have a reservation? And we said, no. And they said, well, sorry, you can't be here. This place is all filled up. And Karina never takes no for an answer. She just knows doors are going to open for her all the time. And that's not my belief system. So she says, no, it's okay. We can be here. And then, no, you really can't. And I said, well, let's go. And they said, no, it's going to be okay. We can be here. And you know we can. And he goes, yeah, you can be here. So he seats us. And I think, okay, we all have our gifts. And so it ties in. So we're going to use all the metaphysics to create a union between the metaphysics and the physics, spirituality and the science. And this is what I'm really passionate about. And if anybody else feels this desire to join this, because everybody's gifts are valuable, everybody has love and special talents and whatever. And even if you don't think you have a skill or a talent that would be useful, join anyway. You're going to find something where this, even just retweeting something or posting something on social network is valuable. Everybody can do things that will be helpful.
Yeah, I think this is really, really exciting, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Well, you're actually helping out. So this is very
I
exciting.
know, in these small ways that we can, right? They actually ripple out to become big. And that's the thing. We don't have to do it by ourselves.
I've been carrying this around for decades that I wanted to do this thing, and I'd write thousands of letters that would be ignored, and I just couldn't get in through the door. And I finally realized I can't do this myself. I can't possibly do it myself. But then I started letting love in and realized, oh, my job is not to do it. My job is to be the spark. I just light the spark and let other people carry the ball. I'll do everything I can do. But my job is primarily to light the spark. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm saying, hey, we know we want to do this. Let's put our minds together and figure out how it can be done.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Richard, for sharing all of this with us. We'll have all of that information in the captions, and people can join us, can learn quantum touch, can share this with their friends and family, experience the beauty of it in their own lives, and get a part of the greater community.
And if they're inspired to learn about becoming more, I'd love to see you and experience what your gifts are too.